Hi, it's Paris from Epic Reviews, the tech channel, and I've got a new Surface Pro 128 gigabyte, which of course doesn't have nearly that much space on the drive because it comes pre-installed with Windows 8, some apps, a recovery partition. So actually what I've got free on the solid state drive here is 89.7 gigabytes, and that's my space. I can put programs in it or my data, but that's all I have to work with. And that does tend to go down over time just because of the way Windows works. And other things you wouldn't think of, like Internet Explorer has a cache, and every website you go to it stores more files. So anyway, it's going to go down probably faster than you think. So most people are interested in getting as much free space as possible and how to increase this. And it is possible. There are two things you can do that will make quite a difference. Between the two of them, it'll give you about an extra 14 gigabytes. Now, one part of it you may have heard of, and that's taking your recovery partition that's stored here, copying that onto a flash drive, and then deleting it from here. That way, if you ever need to reinstall Windows, you ever need to recover the system, you have to have that flash drive. So you got to be sure you're never going to lose that. But if you do take the recovery partition off of this, that'll free up 7. Now the other 7 you may not have thought of, but they're related to optimizing solid state drive use, and it's something I've always done on my computers since my first Vertex solid state drive that I ran in a system, and it's listed in a lot of the FAQs about what you should do on your system to optimize it for running with the solid state drive. So it really surprised me that, considering all the issues about storage with this, people's concerns, and Microsoft trying to say, hey, but wait, there's a way you can free up more space, that they left this other 7 gigabytes on there when they could. I think you can certainly run fine without it. Anyway, Microsoft decided to leave the files on there and take up that extra 7 gigabytes, but I'll show you how in just a couple minutes you can take them off if you want, and it'll free up yet another 7. So we're going to end up over 100 gigabytes of free space on this guy. Alright, it's time to free up that extra 14 gigabytes of space on the Surface Pro. First thing to do, I would recommend having the power plugged in what we're going to do, copying the system recovery partition over to the flash drive. You don't want it to run out of power partway through that. So if you have enough battery, you can do it that way. I feel better with it plugged in. The next thing you're going to do, this is off, so have the power attached. You have your flash drive. I'm going with the 16 gigabyte flash drive because the Microsoft in the screen will say it takes about 8 gigabytes to put the recovery. You need that much space for the recovery partition. It seems to be a little less than that, but it's right on the edge. Depending on how your flash drive gets formatted, you may or may not have enough space. So if you go with 16, you know you're good. Also go with a USB 3.0 flash drive. You can tell in here because it's blue, it's USB 3.0. This runs about 10 times faster than a USB 2.0 flash drive. This also happens to be a fairly fast Patriot flash drive. I really like these Patriot drives. I'll put a link down below in case you're interested in finding out more about them, but I'd recommend this for doing this particular procedure. Anyway, we got our drive. We're going to plug it into the port here on the side, the USB 3.0 port. Turn the system on. Alright, I'm going to go into desktop. I've got it, so I've got the computer icon showing, and I want to just verify that it does see the flash drive, which it does. What's on there is going to be wiped out. I've already made a recovery drive on it, but I'm going to go through the steps again here. The C drive, you'll notice, now says 89.6 gigabytes free. Somehow just in shutting it down and restarting it, I've lost 1/10 of a gigabyte. But when you're at this point, you can see that your flash drive is showing up. You want to go up here to the corner, bring up this, and go to search. Now what you're going to search for is recovery. I'm going to type it in. Oops. Now I've typed recovery and it's saying, oh my gosh, no apps. Well, that's because recovery is not an app. If you look down the list, you can actually search within apps, search within settings, search within files. So I need to go down to settings and select that. And here's the stuff I was looking for. What we want to choose is create a recovery drive. And so what that selects is to make this a bootable drive so that you can get into work on Windows. Now in addition to that, you can copy the recovery partition over to it. And then in addition to that, you can choose to remove the recovery partition from this system. That's when you get your free space back. So create a recovery drive. Say yes. Now it's telling me it's going to create that, and if I leave this checked, it says copy the recovery partition from the PC to the recovery drive. So at this point, all I'm doing is making a copy onto the flash drive. It's not going to delete anything off of this system. So I'm going to go to Next. And it does mention the drive must be able to hold at least 8 gigabytes, and everything on it will be deleted, so don't use a flash drive that you have your priceless photos on. I'm going to Next. Again, they're warning you, everything on this drive will be deleted, so make sure you back them up. If you're sure you want to erase everything on the flash drive and make it this recovery drive, then say go ahead and create. That's what I'm doing. Formatting the drive, you can see the drive light flashing. Copying utilities over. I can tell you from doing this once before, it takes about 5 minutes with this flash drive. That's why I like it. It's fast. We're about 2 minutes in here. It's showing just over a third of the way through. It's at copying the recovery partition. This is the part that takes the longest. If you have a slower flash drive, be patient. It could take 15 minutes or so. That's what they mention on the Microsoft website about how long this usually takes. But right, looks like we're coming into the home stretch here. Again, it'll end up being 5 to 6 minutes for it to have completed this procedure. On Microsoft's website, they have a page that explains this in detail. There we go, we're done. How to do these steps. So down below in the description for this video, I'll put a link right to that page in Microsoft. If you feel better doing it by having actually read it and you can see all the steps, I'll put that link there. Now, it tells us the recovery drive is ready, but that recovery partition is on here still. So your choice is, if you click on the blue, it says delete the recovery partition. And that will take it off of here and give you about 7 gigabytes back. Once you've done that though, in order to run these recovery utilities, you'll need to have this flash drive, not have lost it, and it'll have to not be corrupt. So there are a few things to consider, but I feel confident with it, so I'm going to tell it to go ahead and delete the recovery partition. And now they're telling me again that you won't be able to refresh or reset your PC again without having this drive. So if you're sure, go to delete. And there we go. It says 8 gigabytes of disk space has been added to drive C. Well, let's take a look. We're now showing up at 97.4 gigabytes free. So looking at the tally here, I don't know if you can see that, we went from 89.7 gigabytes free to 97.4. So we got 7.6, 7.7 gigabytes freed up out of the deal. But wait, there's more, and let me show you the steps for getting another 7 gigabytes free. That extra 7 gigabytes, there are 2 files you have to delete off of the system, and you have to take a couple steps in order to get them to go away. You can't just go in and delete them. One is the swap file. It's called pagefile.sys, and it's basically used in case you run out of the active memory, the 4 gigabytes of memory that the computer has. If you were to exceed that, what it does is it starts putting some of that data onto a file on the hard drive. It sort of treats it as virtual memory, and that way the computer might run much slower, but at least it would continue to run. But with 4 gigabytes of memory, it's pretty unlikely for an ordinary user to hit that limit and to use it all up. Now, if you remove completely the pagefile.sys, you risk having the computer crash if you do go beyond 4 gigabytes. So if you're a big heavy power user and you're going to be running virtual machines and you're going to be doing all kinds of digital video editing work where it's all stored in memory, it's possible you could go beyond 4 gigabytes and you would then crash the system at that point and you would lose maybe whatever data you were working on. So that's the risk. I work on computers all the time. It's mostly home users and basic business users, not real high-end enthusiasts. But I have yet to see anybody using over 3 gigabytes on a 4 gigabyte system. So I feel comfortable in doing it, but you have to decide for yourself. It's going to get you about half of that 7 gigabytes if you want to follow the steps. Here they are for removing the pagefile.sys. Again, you can't go right in and remove it, but let me show you where it is, because the other file is located in the same place. So you go into Computer, go into your C drive, go up to View. What you see here are the files they want you to see. What you want to see are all the files. Go to View, tell it to show the hidden items, and you see a few more things appearing here. Go back to View, might as well get file name extensions, and go back to View, go to Options, change folder and search options, and here go to View at the top and tell it the main one we're looking for is where it says hide protected operating system files, which is they recommend. And here they're even warning you, now don't mess around with the Windows files. So you got to say you really do want to make them visible. Say yes, say okay. Now here's all the stuff they were hiding from you, including the pagefile.sys, which is about 3.6 gigabytes in size, and then the other file that you can take off without as much risk, I guess you could put it. It's the hyperfile.sys, and that will keep the computer from going into hibernate mode. Now it'll still go into sleep mode. When you press the button, it'll still go dark, and you tap the key and it will come back up. But hibernate is a deeper sleep mode, and it won't be able to do that if it doesn't have this hyperfile.sys. So that's your trade-off. You get the extra space that the file takes up, but you won't be able to go into hibernate mode. So if you don't shut this down when you're not using it, it's going to reduce your battery life if it isn't able to go into hibernate after whatever, half hour, an hour, or something like that. I still shut it down every time that I'm not using it. Maybe old habits die hard. I know Microsoft doesn't really want you to shut it down. That's why they didn't put an easy shutdown right on the desktop. So again, it's your call on this, but it will free up the space if you take the steps to remove it, which it's a little bit different steps. Anyway, here are the files, and you can see how much space it'll free up to get rid of them. Okay, we're going to close that. Going to get rid of the page file first. Going to go to Computer, right click, go to Properties, Advanced System Settings, click on that. Here under Performance, they mention virtual memory. And we've got an option here at the top called Advanced. And this is where that file is created, virtual memory here. 3,584 megabytes. We're going to go to Change. You can change the size of it. If you still want to keep some of it, you could just make it smaller. They're set to automatically manage it for you, so you have to tell it not to do that. Now I'm going to tell it for the C drive, instead of a system managed file, I'm going to change it to no paging file and set that. And they're going to warn me here. They're saying if you disable this to less than 200 megabytes and a system error occurs, it might not be able to do that dump file where it stores a whole bunch of information that can be sent to Microsoft so they can figure it out. Honestly, I haven't found that it's that helpful. Even when they do send it, it's only on very rare occasion that I get any useful information back. So I have no problem just deleting the whole thing. So I'm going to tell it, do you want to continue? Yes. Okay, now I have no paging file. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK. And it won't disappear until I restart. When it starts up, it will clear that out. So it's still in there. Now the other file, the hyperfile.sys, I'm going to turn off hibernation. I'm going to turn off the hibernation and tell it to remove that file, the hyperfile.sys, all in one. To do that, you need to go to command prompt with administrative rights. So it's not that complicated. Back up here to the corner, go to search. And for command prompt, let's try CMD. Now there's command prompt. Now that's just a regular command prompt. It doesn't have the authority to make a major change to the system like we're going to make. So the way you get the authority for that is you put the mouse over it, but don't click. Instead you right click on it. And these are your options down here, what you want to do with command prompt. And this one is run as administrator. So you normal click on that. Do you want to allow this to run? Yes. And here we have the command prompt, good old DOS. And we need to type a particular command to both turn off the hibernation and which has to be done first. That will allow you to remove the hyperfile.sys. And the command to type is power CFG, P-O-W-E-R, CFG, doesn't matter if it's caps, a single space, and then -H, so it's going to remove that file, and then off for turning it off. And hit enter. Doesn't look like anything happened. To get out of this window, you can exit or you can type EXIT and hit enter. We'll look back here in the C drive now. We're up to 100 gigabytes free, and the hyperfile.sys is gone. page file is still here, so when we restart the computer, we'll get the last of our extra space out of this process. Okay, it's back up. Go back to desktop, into the computer. 104 gigabytes free. You look in here, and they're gone. Hyperfile.sys and the pagefile.sys have left us. So let's go back and change it so you don't have the semi-transparent icons on the desktop. They're the hidden ones. Go back to View and say, don't show me those hidden icons, and those disappear. And we can tell it not to show the windows either at this point. I usually leave it turned on because I'm always messing around with things and I want to see all the files. Same steps as before. Go to View, and then down here for Hide Protected Operating System Files, now that the check's out, we put it back and say OK, and shoot. All that secret stuff is gone, but the main thing for us is 104 gigabytes free. So that's how you do it. Now I play around with my computers all the time, wiping partitions out, trying to dual boot this and that sort of thing. So you may not be comfortable making these changes to your computer, but they're really not a big deal. The worst thing that could happen, I would think, is if you did take out the swap file and you used your computer for so many things simultaneously that you did hit the memory limit, there wouldn't be anywhere to put the additional files when you went to open that one more program, and so the computer would crash. And then you restart it, you would have lost whatever was open, and if you had 4 gigabytes of stuff open, you probably had a lot of stuff. So weigh those options for you, but if you're feeling a little adventurous and you want to free up that extra space, follow the steps that I just showed you. I'm going to be doing more videos putting Windows 7, Windows XP, maybe DOS onto this system and see if I can get them to run. So if you'd like to see those, be sure to subscribe. You can click below to do that.